All right. Hello and welcome back to the Within podcast. This is your host, Nicky Wallace. I have a fun and special guest here today, Andrea Irwin, the owner of Empirical Sales and Marketing, also a mama too, also a wife, also doing all of the things and helping us with the potential within for the June 5th summit that we have coming in. So she has a very big passion for spreading the wellness and well-being awareness, and she'll talk a little bit more about all of that. But I'm very grateful. I met her when I started my sales and I guess entrepreneurial journey almost 5 years ago. And you've just always been somebody I could call when I needed something. And your mom obviously is an amazing person for in my life as well. So I'm excited to have Andrea on here. I'm excited to have you a part of the event here in a couple of weeks as well. And I appreciate all your help with that. But Andrea, I will pass it over to you if you want to start by introducing yourself, and then we can talk about all the things.
Yes. Well, thank you for that introduction. I'm so glad that you're in my life as well. And it has definitely been a journey that I've got on and that we're going to kind of take you through.
Yes.
I was talking to Nikki that with the Potential Within Summit coming up, I really want to dive into 3 different areas of potential. And that's kind of the potential that we know we've got. It's the potential that is just intrinsically known. And then we have the potential that we are discovering. And then we have the potential that is uncovered. And that's the hard potential. That's we got thrust into this situation potential. And I got stories and stories for days. You probably have 6 more times to talk about this.
I know.
But we will keep it kind of short today to just kind of get through the different types of potential, especially this summit coming up, which I'm so excited for. I'm excited to be a part of it. And so thank you for having me on. I'm excited to dive in.
I know when we were talking about this, I'm like, okay, what? Like we know each other in so many different facets at this point. And like we've had just all the journeys that we've gone through, I feel like the last 5 years. So it'll be fun to unpack. And yes, we'll have to have you back on, so where do you want to start? Where do you want to?
Well, I want to start with, I say, the easiest potential. Okay. So the easiest potential is that potential that's that intrinsic potential, the potential that's known from the beginning.
Yeah.
And for me, leading up into my whole world of entrepreneurship, I learned very early on that I was very good at sales. Yeah. I sold my way to summer camp so many times. And I then sold my sister's way to summer camp. I sold my best friend's way to summer camp.
That's awesome.
Our families were in places where camp wasn't affordable at the time for us. And our church offered the ability for us to get a fundraiser going.
Yes.
And I sold so much freaking cookie dough and candy bars. It was nuts. They were surprised when I came in with my order sheets of how much I had sold.
That's so funny. We've never talked about this. I actually also was like the queen of going to summer camps because I was like, I just want to get out of my house and do something with the horses or wherever I'm going. That's so fun.
Yes, that's great. So I knew from a pretty early age, I would go door to door. I would call all of my family and beg them to buy stuff. And it didn't matter if it was a school fundraiser, if it was a camp fundraiser, if it was getting to go on a mission trip and writing letters of support. It was something I was always just really good at.
Yeah.
So I knew from an early age that this kind of sales nature existed within me and the ability to get people to fork over $13 for a container of cookie dough that was going to make them like 20 pieces. So it was really, it's selling the experience and selling the reason why you're signing up for something. So I had that, and that really sprung me into entrepreneurship. And I knew that I had this potential within me to become an entrepreneur. I had this dream of becoming an entrepreneur, but I wasn't ready for it yet. Yep. So I wasn't ready to jump into it after college. I wasn't ready to jump into it even a couple of years after college. I found myself in a position where I was able to dive headfirst into it just 3 months before my first kid was born.
Of course, because why not?
Crazy. Yes. Why not? Why not just add it to the mix? So that's just how life has gone for me. So I added that in and it went really well. And I had discovered I am a good business owner. I have discovered the ability to manage people really well in my career prior. to starting my own company. So then I knew how to manage my clients, and I knew how to manage my budgets, and I knew how to do all of those things because I had discovered all of that in my life leading up to this point. So my potential for all of that was things that were discovered as I went along the way. And I discovered how to be a good wife, and I discovered how to be a good mom as I had my husband enter my life 11 plus years ago, 12 years ago now. I don't know. Time is crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy, yeah.
So I discovered how to be a good mom. We just celebrated our oldest daughter's 8-year-old birthday on Monday. So
that's crazy.
The journey of motherhood has been crazy. So I had those discovered potentials, things that I kind of learned how to do, but they were things that I really wanted, things that I had. And then we hit the uncovered potential of with the birth of my second child. Yeah. And that's really what has kind of led me into the health space with Nicky, and why I'm so excited about being a part of the potential within, why I'm so glad this exists. It's because I didn't know this potential was within me. It was something that had to be uncovered and then accepted and then put into action.
Yeah. I know when you framed it like this, and I didn't know exactly how we were going to talk through everything, that was the first thought that came to my mind with the potential uncovered portion of this. Is like, you talk to so many business owners or people kind of in this well-being space, both of those things, and like you end up where you are because of something that wasn't there, and you usually are thrust into that situation. So you lose a job and you start your own business, you have health issues, you end up starting something to support others that don't, so they don't have to go through the same thing. So I do love how you framed this, but tell us more about how you were thrust into this, and kind of you can go as deep as you want to, or not.
My potential uncovered.
Yeah, you have a lot, but but you have a lot now that you are turning around and advocating so that people don't have to go walk that same lonely path. And I know I don't want to speak too much for you, but that was a part of my story as well, is it does get lonely when there's so many unanswered things, and you just don't know what to do or who to turn to, or maybe you don't even know that there are other people to turn to. So it's not a path that I wish upon any other people, but I do think it's one that when you have been there, if you have the ability to turn around and do something with it, which I know you are, it's just an amazing thing you can give back to the world. So with our potential uncovered, it was a really big shock when we had our second child, who we had a pretty normal pregnancy with, pretty normal scans. She had a little cyst in her brain, and so we had to go back for another scan, and it was gone. So we're like, okay, awesome. Like, this is gonna be great. We're going to bring her home. And I had a nanny already, and I was like, this is going to be awesome. I can just keep on going in my work life. And that was so 100% not the journey that was in store for us. Right.
So I had gone from running a business that was doing a crazy amount of recurring each month, making a lot of money, to a point where I had to scale way, way back. And it was pretty much just like me overnight trying to make things happen and still keep a kid alive and still keep my other kid alive. I had my older one too. So we started down this medical journey with my now 4.5-year-old pretty early on in her life. She started projectile vomiting. And this was pretty quickly after we got her home. We were like, we did this with the first one. She vomited for a little bit. Like, it's weird for the body to get used to eating real food for the first time. Yeah. So like, we're like, it's fine. It's normal. We did this before. And then it just kept happening. And we're like, this isn't what happened before. Right. So we got in contact with her doctor. And of course, like in the very beginning, you're going to the pediatrician all the time. Like, you're constantly there, I feel like. So we were talking to our pediatrician.
Baby, you are at a doctor's appointment like every other day. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. So we were like, okay, we'll just talk about it with our pediatrician when we go in. And so she's like, if it keeps continuing past week 4, then we need to talk about a different solution here. We're going to have to add a medication in. And the thought of medicating your 6-week-old baby, something that was just really challenging for me. I was like, this just shouldn't have to be what we do. We shouldn't have to put medicine in my kid, but I guess we're going to do it because we don't, what other choice do we have?
What do you do? Yeah.
So we ended up putting her on a acid reflux medication, and it stopped the vomiting, but then it started a different problem. She stopped really eating. And so we were quickly given minimum intake goals for the day for hydration, for maintenance, and then also for growth. And that was just a constant basically measurement of how many ounces has she eaten today. And eventually we got to the point where she had eaten 8 ounces, and it was 5 o'clock at night. And I was like, there's no way we're going to get to 12. There's just no way. So we were told, go to the emergency room if you think that she's dehydrated or she's not going to make her goal today. So we did. And we got there. They did some x-rays. You know, when you're in the ER, you wait forever. Peds is still, it's faster, but still you're waiting forever.
Right.
And she got hungry while we were there. And we're like, okay, can we just feed her a bottle?
Right.
Well, I had brought a 5-ounce bottle with us, like 5 ounces. Okay. We were at 8. She ate all 5. Okay. She ate all 5.
Good. Yeah.
So the problem with that though, is that we were set, bye-bye. She hit her goal for the day for like her hydration. So you get to go home. And we're like, that's not what we wanted to hear. Right. We wanted to hear you're going to help us. And now we can't get that help. So we followed up with our pediatrician a couple days later for her 4-month checkup. And we noticed she had low muscle tone. She had lost some weight, and we needed help. And our pediatrician knew how dire the situation was because she got us in with specialists literally the next week. It is so hard to get in with these specialists. Usually there's like 3 to 6, 9, 12-month wait list. Yeah. And we had appointments the next week. Wow. We never made it. She ate 5 ounces by 2 p.m. the next day, and that was with an overnight feed. We tried to do a dream feed to get some food into her. Yeah. And ended up back in the ER. We packed our bags this time. We were like, we're not leaving. We're getting admitted. Something's wrong. So we got admitted. We found out something was very wrong. She was refluxing a ton. Started a new med, but we also had to drop an NG tube to get her some hydration, which we were 100% okay with at that point. And so after we're in the hospital a little bit, she's eating on her own. We're like, this is great. And they're like, she's going to go home and eating quickly. And then she just kind of fell off. And that was the day before we were supposed to leave the hospital. And we found out that she actually had contracted 2 viruses at the same time. Oh, and both of them had to be dealt with by the hospital. Like, we had to get her basically on Pedialyte is what was going through her NG tube, which had to be redropped. We'd already taken it out at this point. We were ready to go home fully oral, and we have an NG tube back in. She's on hospital support. We get over this virus. I also ended up with one of the ones that she got, which was norovirus, which
that's a rough one too.
Yeah, living in a hospital having norovirus is just not a fun time.
No, that's not fun.
No. So this was like, I don't know, a little over 2, I think we were 2.5 weeks in at this point.
So you'd been in the hospital for 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So, I don't think I knew I knew some of this, but I don't think I knew all of it. Okay.
It was a crazy journey. So we were in the hospital. This is like 2.5 weeks, and she starts to get better. She's back on regular, like full strength formula. And you're like, okay, let's introduce the bottle again.
We're good. Yeah.
You won't take it. And nobody can tell us why, because she had just been eating orally. Okay. 6 days before this, she was eating orally, everything she needed on her own. And now we're back on the tube and she won't even touch a bottle. So we're like, what is happening? What's going on? I am, of course, a researcher. And so I sit there the entire time that I'm in this hospital, reading medical journals, reading studies, and trying to figure out what other tests can we do. And the doctor we had at the time said, well, she doesn't need those. And I was like, well, why? Because all of these journals I read say she needs these, and she just doesn't need them. And I'm like, well, that's not an answer that I'm going to accept. So
why did you think she needed them? Because of the symptoms she was presenting, or?
Yeah. So there's some like pH testing that you can do to see like how bad the acid is, to see if you need increased dosage or if you need additional medications. There's some gastric emptying studies that you can do to see how long it's taking the food to actually move through the stomach.
I did that on my journey. Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things you can do. And they were telling me like, well, she doesn't need that. And like, if you can't answer the question why, then you better give me a doctor who can. So we waited through the weekend for a new GI to rotate on. And they're like, you guys are going to love him. He's amazing. He listens. He does a lot of things that parents request. So we were like, okay, great. We're excited. Right. We're going to have this guy. Well, the weekend is when she gets sick again. And she got rotavirus. And that took us 2 weeks to get over.
Another rough one.
Yes.
Dang.
Very, very hard.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do anything at all because she's super sick. She's vomiting constantly. She cannot be left alone. We're constantly on PICU watch. Like, are we going to end up going here or not? Right. I had to learn how to use the NG tube. I learned how to run her feeds. I learned how to use the pump. I was learning how to give medications, how to check for if the tube was in the right spot, because we were going home with an NG tube. There was no way around it.
Right.
So we go home and we start all these therapies. We start doing feeding therapy. We start doing physical therapy. We start doing therapies with the AEA. And then she's got to get weight checked because she was technically labeled failure to thrive since she had lost so much weight because of how sick she was. So,
and she still is refusing a bottle at this point? Like, there's
still refusing a bottle. Will not touch it. So we eventually gave up after about 3 more months of trying to give her a bottle. We tried every single nipple that existed. We tried every single formula that existed. We tried, like, the graveyard of formula and bottles in our house was
insane,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So she's not taking anything. So we just like gave up. We're just like, whatever. We're just going to try to get you to eat real regular food and focus on that. So she starts eating some of that. We're starting to get a little bit better with the reflux, but not great. And so I'm like, okay, something else has got to be going on here, because like gastroesophageal reflux disease is not a diagnosis. It's a symptom of something else. Okay. So I'm diving in to see, like, do we have an allergy to something? Even though she's on amino acid formula, we're giving real food when we go to feeding therapy. So we got her allergy tested, and we unfortunately had to blanket allergy test her, which is never a good idea. Please do not do that to your children. Like, even if an allergist is telling you you need to, don't do it. It led to us having to eliminate over 20 foods from her diet.
Oh, wow.
And then challenge every single one of them back in. Doing this while weaning from a feeding tube. Right. So her diet now became
a long time too, right? Like,
her weaning took us about 2 months, which was a pretty good thing. And she weaned her meds really well to oral too. So that worked out well. But we have all these foods that we have to avoid now. So I'm buying all these special things and making so much food from scratch at home.
Sure. Yeah.
To avoid all these extra ingredients. And we're testing things one by one. We get off the feeding tube. We're like, yay, we did it. You're eating orally. Right. And things go okay for a couple of months. And then she has anaphylaxis. And we're like, what?
And had that happened up until this point?
Nope. Okay. So brand new. We're living life, and all of a sudden she has anaphylaxis. And we had just challenged soy the day before. I had to re-challenge it that same day. Put her down for a nap. She barely slept. Gave her a bath. Do not ever bathe a kid who is having an allergic reaction. I did not know this. Oh, don't put them in warm water. They'll just make it worse.
Makes it worse.
So I pulled her out and I put her on her changing table, and I looked at her. She's totally normal. Okay. Total presentation was completely fine. I looked down, grab her clothes. I look back up, and half of her face is completely swollen.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what is happening? Like,
how old is she at this point? Like, almost
she is 1.
Okay. I was trying to do the timeline.
Yeah. So like, we're 1.5, have this anaphylactic reaction. We have to epi her, go to the hospital. And they're like, well, we think probably the soy, since that's like, we were right within that window where it could potentially still be the soy. And so we took that out completely. And then we carried on with life for a couple of weeks. And then I had anaphylaxis.
Oh my God.
I had anaphylaxis to a medication. And we had no idea at the time that it was the medication causing the anaphylaxis. I was told there's no way that you could possibly be allergic to this med. You've been taking it for 4 years. And it was a migraine medication that was literally my saving grace as being a mom, being able to take it and then not have a migraine a little bit while later.
Right.
And I am in the middle of a children's museum with my kids and my mother-in-law and some of my cousins. And all of a sudden, I am itching everywhere. I am getting really dizzy. I feel like the world is going to end, which is that impending sense of doom that you get. and I'm barely able to talk. I can't really open my eyes. I can barely move my arms.
Oh my
And so I
gosh.
had to be epied. They had to call 911. This was like super traumatic for everybody who's in
I'm
this
sure.
museum.
I'm
I feel so
sure.
bad. I've never returned. So I was then able to go to the hospital, was watched, the epi worked. It was okay. So then I was told by my allergist, like, we need to probably trial this medication and see if it really was the root cause. And my neurologist was like, there's no way. Like, no one's ever had this reaction. It's not recorded. There's nobody who's ever been on it for this long and has had a reaction.
Right.
So
You'd think you'd be safe at that point.
let's challenge it. So we did. Yeah. And I had anaphylaxis 4 times over and ended up in the hospital, had a less than great experience with my 4th reaction. These were reactions that were happening 30 to 45 minutes apart. So they're called biphasic. That's the fancy term for it. But my 4th one was not treated with epinephrine because they were so scared that my heart rate was so high.
Right.
If they
That's
gave
what
me,
I was going to ask, what's happening to your body when they're doing this?
So my heart rate's really, really high. My blood pressure is tanking, and I am passing out because it's that bad. So the nurses was too afraid to give me epinephrine because they're like, it's just going to make your heart worse. And I had advocates with me who were like, no, there's no way it's going to make it worse. It's going to make it better. But they didn't listen. And so I was rushed to the resuscitation room, and they got me onto the table, and eventually the reaction kind of passed over. They gave me a ridiculous amount of steroids and potassium and all this stuff. And then they put me in a hallway, which I was on no monitoring the entire time. It was not great. And then eventually they finally understood that that was my 4th reaction to the same trigger. Right. And they're like, you need to be admitted. Like, we need to obviously watch you. And I was like, that would be great if we could do that. So they put me on heart monitoring, and they were running into my room every single time I would get up to wash my hands or go to the bathroom or do anything, because my heart rate would immediately spike to 160. And I had my whole
lucky you didn't have a stroke or, I mean, that's like stroke range for sure. Yeah.
So I was in the state of always being super high. So they checked my heart out, and they're like, everything looks fine structurally. It's all good. And all of the different testing they had me do, it was like my blood pressure and my heart rate were just not friends when I would do anything other than lay down. So I can say that. But it was definitely something that was very traumatic and left me with CPTSD. Yeah, so now I am a person who has CPTSD, who is caring for a complex med kid at this point. She has just been experiencing more symptoms. We're still trying to find the answer at this point. We're in October, November, December of 2023. So at this point, I'm advocating to go to Iowa City, because I'm like, we've got to find for and for me, for both of us. So I was like, we got to find people who know what's happening. Right. I am a medical mystery, have not been figured out. My kid
have you had symptoms since then? Since that? Well, I know your story is a little.
As long as I avoid this particular medication, I'm okay. And as long as I avoid coconut, I'm also okay. So we just didn't figure it out. It's something yet to be discovered on my end.
That's so weird.
I just listen to my body, and I do what it tells me to do, and I rest when I need to rest, and I take extra meds if I need to.
Right.
But for my kiddo, they're like, she has a genetic condition. And I'm like, okay. We had gene testing done. Yeah. Nothing came back. So what are you saying? And they're like, well, it's a very specific genetic condition that has to be tested by this one lab. And so you send in a cheek swab sample, and then they tell you if you have it or not. But she has all the she's marking every single one of the symptoms. She's got this. And I'm like, okay. So we do the test. It comes back positive. We go back for a follow-up appointment, and it's very evident that my kid has far surpassed their ability to care for her because she's so severe. So we end up at Mayo instead. And Mayo now works with our local allergist for her. And so we've been managing her symptoms pretty well up until we moved into our new house. And now she's in this super bad flare that's just continuing to go and go and go. And I have found that my uncovered potential through all of this is my ability to advocate for my kid.
Yes.
My ability to just see the changes that are happening and take care of them.
Right.
And my ability to advocate for myself, my friends, my family, and my kind of uncovered passion of making sure this doesn't happen to other people. Right. So everything that has happened to me, I turn into a, how can I prevent this from being a journey somebody else has to take, or somebody else has to take alone?
Right.
And so now I am an admin with 2 other moms of kids that have the same genetic condition she does. And we run a group for parents of kids under 12 who have the same condition to help support them through this journey of getting diagnosed and what does that look like. And then I'm beginning advocacy work with different hospitals and clinics and different people, letting them know this is a thing that exists and it's something that needs to be checked for. It's called hereditary alpha tryptophanemia, HAT for short.
I know. I was like, do you mind sharing what it is?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it can affect up to 5% of the population. A good portion of that 5% is asymptomatic. They don't have any idea that they carry this gene, as is with a lot of genetic conditions. A lot of people have a gene for something, but it's not active. So there's no symptoms. They will never know that they ever had this abnormality in their body. Right. Then there's a group of people that will also never know they have this abnormality in their body because it presents as it presents as allergies. Okay. It presents as a slow gut, and they get diagnosed with a condition that is one of those, and then they get treated for that, and they're fine. That's all they need to make it through. And then there's the percentage of people that my daughter falls into, just highly active, needs constant treatment, needs elevated treatment, has flares, hospital visits, breakthrough reactions. So we're living in that set of life of something that we never knew 4 years ago would ever be an issue.
I know. The word you keep using, and I just wrote down because I was like, I feel like this is something that I've become so passionate. So I'm not proud of this, but I used to kind of roll my eyes at the whole advocacy, right? Oh, they're just being, tough, or they're trying to, get testing that doesn't need to be done or whatnot. But now, having gone through something chronic that nobody could figure out what was going on, it changes your whole mindset around advocacy and being able to speak up for yourself. And I think, not to, to go back to the potential within and kind of why I've started this and why I'm so dang passionate. I think why you've been a great addition to it is okay to ask those questions. It's okay to do your own research, and it's okay. Doctors are amazing and they do amazing things, but they don't know everything. They don't know all, nutrition. I think they're finally changing this, but I think they get one class in their 8 years of being in school about nutrition and how that impacts
crazy
other things. It is crazy, but it's real. And that was something I kind of learned. And nutrition was 100%, 1,000%, tied to what I had gone through. So I think just going back to even what we talked about early in this podcast is the advocacy piece, is so. My hope is, even if we don't do anything different, just empowering people to know that they can ask those questions and stand up and your body, your body, your kid. Your doctor's not home with your kid 24/7, not caring for them when they pull them out of the bath and they have hives all over them. Those things aren't normal, and they're your body telling you something. So I just love that you're turning all of this, even though you're going through all of it actively. Same with myself of how do we just empower people at the minimum to be able to, stand up and ask a few more questions or see another doctor or know that something is not right and it's okay to voice that. So I don't know. I've started to get so passionate about the advocacy piece because just listening to people that, I'm getting a surgery, but I still don't really agree with it. Well, then don't get the damn surgery. Let's do some more research. Let's find some more people. Let's, get you in a different situation. And some things are unavoidable, but just so many people going through things that I just, just maybe have one more question or call them back or go see another doctor or something.
100%. Be the squeaky wheel too, because you are the only advocate for your kid and you're the only advocate for yourself. So if something's not happening in the timeline that you needed to happen in, which is what we've experienced a lot of recently, I have had to be the squeaky wheel for a lot of different doctors, our insurance company. It has just been me on the phone, basically just being like, hi, it's me again. Do you have something for me? And people start to then realize that like, you're not going to let this go, that you are somebody that they need to respect as an advocate and put you in a priority spot of getting a response. Because if you're not the person who's calling in constantly to say, hey, still haven't gotten an answer, I still don't know what to do next, I still am seeing these symptoms get worse, what do we do next? If you're not constantly asking for that, these doctors, they see thousands of patients a week. So you are one little teeny tiny dot in their entire schedule. So it's important to make sure that you're getting your voice out and getting your voice through. And when they keep hearing your name over and over and over again, they finally get back to you. And then another thing I want people to know too is you can fire your doctor. There's so many people who do not know that if you get assigned a specific like GI doc or a specific endocrinologist or a heart doctor, whatever, you can fire them. If you don't mesh with them, if they're not taking you seriously, if they're not listening to what needs to actually happen, if they don't believe in a process of combining standard like Western medicine with some additional kind of alt med techniques, then get rid of them. Throw them away. You're paying for them. You pay their bill. You pay their salary. So just if you don't like them, if they're not working for you, get rid of them. Get a new doctor.
And that was like an amazing concept to me too, because I think I'd gone to the same person forever. And I just, you just go to your appointment, you get the answer, you maybe get a med and you go home. But yeah, when you have something like really going on that you're just like, you're not listening to me anymore, or, they cut your appointments a little bit shorter. The other point that when you were talking about that is like these doctors are the way that they're coming out of school, like they're forced into a specialty like that is. And I think that's where, you can call holistic med or, as woo woo or whatever as you want. But the difference between like a naturopath and some of these other Western med folks is like, they're just exposed to a lot more. They have a lot different, like more broad training versus like if you go to the school to be an ENT, like you're just looking at the ear, nose, and throat. You're not looking at the body as a whole all the time. I'm not dissing anybody in any of these professions. I think it's something that needs to be talked about because, I'll never forget going and doing a testing. And I literally asked the bladder specialist, okay, how does this correlate with my blood numbers? And my husband, every time the story gets told, he says, I thought you were going to like freak out on this doctor, but because his answer was, I don't know, that's not my specialty. You need to go down the hall for that. And I was like, so you would rather have me implant this device into my body to maybe help me versus like trying to figure out holistically what the root cause is going to. So another whole
way I built It's also why I build a team of doctors that are DOs. And a lot of people will be like, well, MD, the only, and I was like, no, DOs actually have to study a lot more of the body. So they actually go to more clinical hours. They actually have more studies that they have to like complete in order to graduate. And so a DO is actually way more educated than an MD will ever be that you go see. So, and they look at the whole body. They ask about the things that are going on, and they're more willing to work with other doctors to figure it out. And that is one of the beautiful things about living in the digital age that we do have now, is that we have the ability for doctors to discuss what's going on with their patient with another doctor, as long as you sign your HIP forms. Make sure you sign those so they can talk about what's going on. But it does allow for collaboration that didn't get to exist before. So I would encourage everyone to, if you have multiple people, like we've got Mayo doctors and we have local doctors, and we have signed documents that say everyone can talk to everyone in order to figure out what's best for my kid. And then we add new specialists as we need to, because unfortunately her condition requires somebody who does specialize in that system to treat the system. So we are doing that, but then we're also just exploring alternative medicine routes as well to get her some relief and some help. But yeah, my big uncovered potential was one that I really didn't want. I really didn't ever see myself this big advocate and this person who is going to just be thrust into this world of, I have to now fight for my kid's life like there's no tomorrow, because there could be no tomorrow. And so it's getting to that point where you're just like, okay, well, I guess this is where it's at. And usually those uncovered potentials become your biggest passions. And where you end up moving forward in life, which has happened to me. And I know it's happened to you too.
Yes, that's why we're here. So we only have a few minutes left, and if somebody's listening that maybe is going through their own journey or has a kid, because I think a kid is even scarier, because a lot of doctors, don't maybe go down that path, a specialized path with the pediatrics, or I know there's just different challenges that come with kids because they can't talk or they don't know what's happening. So if somebody's listening to this that is going through something, like, where would you encourage them to start?
So I would say that there are a lot of great groups on Facebook. If you kind of have figured out, if you have the diagnosis. If you don't have the diagnosis, just where we sat for a long time, reach out to your just community and ask, like, this is going on with my kid. Does anybody have any idea what could potentially be happening? Ask the question. Don't just sit there by yourself silently trying to figure out what's going on. Work with your doctors. Ask them, like, hey, this is weird. This is different. And if you are a first-time mom, I want you to hear this. If you are a first-time mom and you're being told, that's totally normal, children do this, babies are like this. If you feel in your mom gut that something is wrong with your kid, you need to pursue that. Because you are right. You are right. There is something wrong with your kid. And the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to go to 3 different appointments with doctors, and they're going to do all this testing, and they're going to find out that your kid is actually completely fine, and maybe your gut was wrong. But I can tell you that of all the moms I know very, very few that have been wrong about trusting their mom gut. So fight back. Don't just take your first-time mom as an answer. Fight the system, because you are your kid's biggest advocate. And if you have a kid that can't talk, our kid was speech delayed. So we had an even longer period of time where she couldn't tell me what was going on. And
it's so hard.
You really have to just learn to watch their signals. You got to watch how they're holding their body. How are their bowel movements? How are they eating? It's kind of keeping a really close eye on everything, and it is a lot of work, and it is exhausting. And so that's why I recommend you get your own therapist to go talk to. But it is important to keep the eye. If you think something's wrong, you're probably right. Just keep pushing and reach out to me. I'm on all socials.
Sorry, where can people find you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can also find me at Andrea at Empirical, EMPIRICALSM.com. Okay,
perfect. I know. I feel like there's, I didn't realize how many parallels we had. I knew some of them, but I'm definitely feel like we need to continue this conversation because of the work that you're doing, and just, we've learned a lot in a short amount of time that we haven't necessarily wanted to, but here we are, and we're hoping to get back. So anything else you want to share in the final minute?
No, I'm just thankful that you're having me on. It's another platform for me to be able to spread awareness and my message. And I'm just excited for all of your listeners to get to hear this. And please come to the Potential Within Summit, because you're going to get to learn so much more, and I'll be there. You can meet me.
Like a little snippet of, the conversations that are had. So. Well, awesome. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. I hope everybody took away something from today. I know I did, even though I was part of the conversation. I feel like I always learn when I talk to our guests that come on. So if you're going through something, reach out to us, join our community. I know we're going to be launching our community after the event in June. So I'm so excited to be able to have a space for people to continue these conversations, ask the questions. I think the mental game of what is going on is sometimes becomes a bigger deal than the physical things that are going on. I know that was part of my journey. So, and it's taken me a long time to reach out, or, to even start having these conversations. So I know, even though we're sitting here bold and, answering the questions or talking about the things, it took us time to get here too. So I'm hoping that we can shorten that time and give a soft space for everybody that needs one. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Andrea, thank you for coming on. Thanks for all the work that you're doing, and both for us and for yourself and for our community. So we appreciate that. So we'll see everybody next week. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.